Greetings, and thank you for joining me at the Lightroom forecast. This is the reading for this beautiful, huge, what looked to be last night. I was watching it. This huge full moon in beautiful, passionate Leo. So let's get shuffling. It's a little bit a different spread today, maybe a little bit more free flow. We'll get a journey map card to begin with and go from there, but we are initially looking at what has been illuminated or revealed for us at this time, our creative potentials at this time, because there is a lot of creative potential with the Sun conjunct Jupiter, and the fact that we're in Aquarius season as well. Not that I'm an astrologer, but I think there's ability for a lot of really expansive creative stuff to be going on. So creative potentials, and how do we utilize and honor these collectively and individually? What's our propulsion moving forward? What's sort of sustaining that at this current time? So let's just start shuffling. Brilliant. Oh, wow. Well, we get the Compass Mistress. This is a card, of course, being challenged directionally. At the top, in very small letters, which you probably don't see, unfortunately, it just says it is okay. And with the little figure stuck on top of that stilt, just there, you know, she comes to us, and I say she because for me, when I did these cards, she is a she. When we feel like we've lost our way. So as a general first card and overall card, you know, I could quite relate this to general times recently, currently. It feels as if by the time we get to the end of March, beginning of April, that's really sort of like the beginning of the year, or the real beginning, not just astrologically, but the real, where things sort of take off or start to move a little bit more. So I guess the thing is, when things are revealed, when a pathway is sort of illuminated for us, are we waiting for that first, or do we figure out what direction we want to go, or do we just wing it, I guess, is the feeling of this. Anyway, let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. So now we'll use the thoth. We'll go back. We'll clarify actually more in more depth as we go through, and at the end, because it is this Leo, this sort of fun, childlike. There is a childlike energy I do feel about it. We'll pull a pixie and fairy card because the fun cards, and they're very cute, and they are all about fun. So we'll get one of those as well as a wee star card at the end. But so let's go through. We've got what has been revealed and what has been illuminated right now. Lovely people, on a collective level and on a personal level for sure. It goes hand in hand. So we see ourselves challenged in terms of the direction that we really need or want to go or can go. One card, please, for this. What is this beautiful moon in Leo revealing to us here? Just one card, please. Just one card. look, one card came out. Let's see. What is this beautiful Leo moon, this full moon revealing? It's revealing some kind of, you know, we get the moon card. Speaking of naughty pixies and fairies, sitting there on the table. Anyway, so we get the moon. So, you know, we've come to the conclusion that the loony moon does illuminate, does allow us to see a new direction. So which way are we going to go? Or what direction are we going to take? And it does feel like we've got actually quite a lot of room here to figure that out. We've got a lot of room. And whether it makes sense or not, I do feel a lot of time to figure that out for some reason, even though things seem to be feeling like they're starting to move a lot faster. I think we've still got some downtime up until the end of March is what I feel. So, all right, what has been revealed? Maybe some of those deep, dark pools in the caverns and the crater lakes. You know, through the gates, there we see them if we choose to go in that direction. You know, definitely I'd like to get another card at this point for this. The moon is revealing the moon. The moon is revealing unconscious aspects of ourselves. How do we want to see them? Can we have one more card, please? For what? For what is this full moon in Leo revealing for us, collectively and individually, please? Well, let's see. It's incredibly hot here today, more so than yesterday. Wow. You know, we get the Tower, one of my favourite cards. The Tower, new information. And a new way of doing things. As I said before, you know, there's a period of time that changes don't happen immediately. Usually there's quite a long period of time, especially if it's to do with global change, with the collective, the more people involved. Often the slower it is. But, so we see the moon. What is the moon revealing? It's revealing, I believe, the need for decisions to be based on, not on what is necessarily visually seen, but what is felt. And because we are entering a new age, people need to go with what they feel. I wanted this reading to, I mean, you can't pick the cards, but this makes sense. I thought it would be a little bit more lighter. But the Tower is a wonderful card because it shows us fully what has broken down, what doesn't work, that there is this wonderful expansive eye, this huge amount of new information, potentials is what it is, potential for expansion. And that it doesn't matter what, it's sort of like, it's just what I'm hearing, like, let your freak flag fly. like whatever you, it's you know, it's whatever you need and want to express, because there's nothing to lose anymore. This is what this is just what I hear. So this card of the Two of Swords, is a card of using the intuitive self. You know, you see the new moon right up the top. I do think this new moon, which is in Aquarius in a couple of weeks, will as much reveal, you know, another step in this progression of kind of breakdowns and building ups of new systems, ways of looking at things. I do feel that. So we're talking collectively, because this is a general reading. It's a reading for the collective. But you can bring that back to yourself at the same time. That's quite interesting. Let's get to our potential. Excuse me. God, excuse me. Let's get to our creative potential at this time. So in some ways we see, you know, as a planet, we're not quite sure what direction we want to go, because things are definitely changing and it takes a long time. But to have this idea of holding on to old systems and structures. Now, I would emphasize here, this isn't political, but of course you can't help but as a collective reading, bring a little of that in. But, you know, when I talk about systems and structures, the basis of which is patriarchal, let's face it. And I love men, you know, it's not about that. And it's not about saying that all women would do a fantastic job at running the world either. Forget about the gender business. But it is a patriarchal system, and it ceases to have really a lot of value anymore, or actually it's not working for most people, is not working. And of course it's not that simple, is it? There's so many other things going on. Let's get creative potential at this time, individually, collectively. Let's see. Wow. Creative potential. Look, I get the term rip, shit, or bust, which is really revolting. Slang a term, isn't it? I apologise, but that's what I get from this. Creative potential. We've got huge creative potential here. Like this is it's almost been held back and held back and held back to the point, in a kind of, whether it's been a collective directive to keep people paralysed, or we do this to ourselves, of course, more so, ultimately. What am I getting here? It's like it's like one extreme to the other, and I'll show you why. We get the Knight of Wands, this fire all the way. Passion, impulse. Excuse me. He doesn't sit back and consider you know, the best approach. It's just pure force, but force in a really creative, inspired way. So it's not you know, so it's an amazing expression that he has, and he is fearless, or she is absolutely fearless. But wow, explosive, with the Hanged Man, who's had to go into a sort of chrysalid in order to figure out some, I look at it as spiritual truths, which is not religious. Has gone into his chrysalid, and it's a period where it's a period of stasis, where nothing's really coming in and nothing's going out. I think this sums up levels of polarization at the moment. Creative potentials are unlimited here, absolutely unlimited, but we want to direct them, don't we? I mean, speaking globally, we want to direct them. I know this is sort of like an abstract way of looking at it, but that's sort of the way that I see it. We want to focus it. We want to direct it, because otherwise it's just like, it just goes and then boom, and you're just left with a little, you know, a little pile of smoky ash. So the creative potential, one would see maybe there's a directive for people to, I'm not telling anyone what they should be doing, but with these cards and what I get here, a directive for people to, you know, there's a to look at the idea of possibly, you know, a spiritual crisis going on collectively. It has been for a long time. Anyway, we won't get into too much of that, as we're looking at creative potential, but it's looking pretty explosive, and the Hanged Man's just like, I'm not interested, I'm just going through my process, man. And it's a necessary process. Creative potential. I think when we go inwards, when we look at things of meaning in our life, when we reflect on that, that's what I mean about spiritual crises, or working on our, you know, a spiritual sense of what we see, and that can come under any label or whatever, doesn't matter, or no label at all. But to have an awareness of that means that we are collectively more open to each other and not so threatened. I'm going off on a tangent, I know. So creative potentials looking incredibly explosive. As we have the Tower as well, but of course, I guess the general threads of energy at this current time incorporate everything that's been going on since the beginning of the year, since last year, the beginning of last year. This is a really, you know, I see as a very expansive full moon. And there are a lot of other things going on in the planetary dance, but I'm not an astrologer, so I do concentrate on the moon's cycles, and always have. So this is where we come in. Okay, so what's going to propel us forward here? I mean, I think the Hanged Man, oh God, I kind of feel like cutting him down and saying, come on, look, have a cup of tea. And it's like he's sort of exposed. It's like it's quite exposed. Okay. I don't know if this is making a lot of sense. But anyway, this is what I get from the cards. That's all I can go on. Propulsion moving forward here into this new moon in Aquarius mid-month, mid-February. Let's see what's going to be propelling us forward here. I just think it's a great time for just personal expression and enjoyment of that. I think it's a great time. Just got too many cards coming out. Propulsion forward, please, at this time of excuse me, at this time of the Leo full moon. Oh my goodness, this is quite beautiful. Of course, too many cards popped out, but I'm taking these. Look, we get 3 cards, and they're 3 major arcana cards of generally what will be propelling us forward. Whoops. Yeah, sorry. I do have problems often with the microphone. Sometimes I don't realize it until I've put videos up. Right. So it's like the Trinity. We start with the Chariot. In fact, we could go either way. This is just the way they came out. We start with the Chariot. You know, he's harnessed. He's harnessed. In fact, I mean, he's harnessed the conscious with the unconscious. He's balanced everything out. He's understood everything to the point where, in effect, he doesn't harness his beasts to the Chariot, because everyone is moving in harmony and unison. And they're moving, like it's moving quickly. It's action. It is propulsion. And it's moving along quite fast. And you see his shell of protection as he starts out on this initial journey, the need for that protection and armor as he moves along. We get the World, the second card, this portal, which is reminiscent of the shield of the Chariot. We have the portal in the World card, the universe, a new phase, a new stage, a new roll of the dice. A new cycle begins, of course. We've tied up the past cycle, however long that has been, however short it's been, however long it's been. And this is where we enter a new. Now, this is looking pretty harmonious with the sun. This beautiful sun. And a nautilus shell. Reverberating sounds of joy, laughter. A small child riding a horse, which isn't represented in this card, but that is a traditional image for the sun. So we get this beautiful triumvirate, the Trinity of sorts, movement into a whole new period, followed by balance and harmony and beauty. I mean, propulsion forward, I would say, is a matter of faith, a matter of retaining faith and hope that if we can carry some of this vitality that's coming through at the moment, the vitality and expansiveness and imaginative capabilities, our imaginations are a wonderful thing. And sometimes it's very easy to focus on negatives, and of course it's pretty, there are situations in life that we get into or we find ourselves in that are pretty trying, and so I'm not being flippant by saying it's easy to be negative about things, but I think it is, and it's a lot more of a challenge often to be optimistic, to have hope, to have a bit of faith. Anyway, look, we're going to go through, because I'm kind of intrigued. Just going to go through. We get 3, we get 2 for these positions. Yeah. I'd like to. Let's see. I'm just thinking. Sorry. So what is revealed? That really what's been revealed to us at this time, that this really is a new beginning of sorts. I mean, every day is a new beginning, isn't it? But emphasis on, yep. Look, we've got to work with this. We've got to carry it with us. This new idea that, yes, we get this, and I love it how they're facing each other. We need to work at this, because this is a whole new period of time where we're looking ahead. Well, we're looking at what's happening now, but we seem to be getting some past, present, and future all at once, it seems, today in this reading. So we're heading into, and we are becoming more of a, it's not just our 5 senses anymore. Even 6th sense, that even is going beyond that. We're becoming far more sensitized in terms of the way that we communicate. Technology is part of this, but there's also, it's also just, this is what is happening to us as, we're part of this, we're creatures of this planet, and we evolve as the planet does too. I'm not quite sure what I'm trying to get at here. I've lost my train of thought. But it is that we're becoming more and more sensitized. If this full moon in Leo doesn't reveal that to us, well, it's been revealed anyway. That's what I mean, past, present, and future. We know this anyway, don't we? The Queen of Cups. The commonalities of these 2 cards together is that they pretty much rely on intuition. And one of them is about making a decision, and one of them is just a self-sustaining system. with a never-ending full cup. And there is illusion potentially within the Queen, but generally speaking, in the most positive way, she's a self-fulfilling system that relies on really her intuition, which is entwined with her emotional sense, with her heart sense. Look, I still think we need to really work with this. We need to really work with that it's not always about, I'm talking collectively here, it's not always about force, aggressive conflict that makes the world go round. It's actually, we think it's quite normal because you see it everywhere, I guess. But directive, come back to heart. I always say that because it has so many more offshoots than we realise across the board. And it certainly doesn't make us more vulnerable. In fact, it's the opposite. But we're not really taught that. Okay, so let's look at, we had our creative potentials as sort of rip, shit or bust. Excuse my language. With the Hanged Man and the Knight. But what we didn't ask there was, how do we utilize this? How do we work with this? Because those two energies are quite opposite each other. At face value they are. Let's see. It's like the suppression of something means that eventually that something that's suppressed, it's just going to burst like a great big blimmin' balloon. How do we honour this or somehow utilise it and work with it, please? Thank you. How do we work with these two energies? Wow. Wow, we've got a lot coming out. A lot coming out. How do we work with these two energies? This is pretty nice. We get Strength card, which in the Thoth deck is called Lust. It is taming the inner beast. What I mean by that is the mind, the aspects of the ego and the unconscious mind that we allow to direct our motivations or actions. So we tame that. How do we work with it? How do we utilize that? You know, those two opposites. We understand this pretty much. We understand our ego. This is a Leo card too. How do we utilize it? Because once we get this into practice, as you could look at it in a really practical way, it's like a practice. So you just keep tabs on it, you know, on your inner lion. So it's just a commitment to that. And what happens then? We get the Magician because we get mastery. Magician's an amazing, fantastic card. On one level, we've understood we've understood how we work with the world, and in doing that we've sort of understood the way that things work, and often in paradox and metaphor, if that makes sense. So the magician has acquired everything he needs in order to work with. It's not about going out and getting what you want necessarily. You probably end up more like with what you need. But he's adept at this, mastery. And I would say this is pretty amazing, because from here, even though it seems possibly like hard work, we come here and we can do anything at this point. I often think of the magician as being sort of unencumbered as well by like the Fool. That's what I mean. We just actually, I just see. Hang on a minute. Oh, we had another card that flew out, and I didn't see that. It was on the floor, which is satiety. The Ten of Cups, the ultimate expression in the material world of all that which is bountiful in terms of emotional life, satisfaction, love, desire, seen in the physical world around you in your life. Excuse me. So that's interesting with the magician and strength. Right, so this has been kind of a bit of an all over the place read today, hasn't it? It really has. Now let's see if we can get, we're going to get a little from Brian Froud's lovely deck of pixies and fairies. We're going to get a card, and then we'll get a guidance card from these lovely stars again. So Brian Froud's, I think it is the Fairy Oracle. Well, it is the Fairy Oracle. Let's see, just one card. And let me just ask an off-the-cuff question. Oops, I haven't asked it yet. For the collective here on this full moon in Leo, which looks really amazing. It's like, I think for some reason over the next, from this point towards the end of March, I think we're going to be infused. I'm not talking about any specific part of the world. I'm talking like generally that we're going to be really infused with a lot of hope and inspiration, and that we are entering, a whole new future that's incredibly full of many, many potentials that possibly weren't seen or available prior to earlier last year. This is what I get. Anyway, let's get a little pixie and fairy card. What can you offer us guidance for passionate expression over this time? Oh, Passionate expression. Wow, wow. Passionate expression. I've got a few too many cards, but the two that came out face up kind of go along with this reading. We have Soulless, which is the Leo card, this card here. Absolute divine. He's like a divine fire. Look, you could liken it to this chap. And hang on a mo. Then, like, we come back to the heart. So this is pretty amazing. They're very similar. It's sort of, oh, that looks weird, doesn't it, when you're looking at it like that? You can see another, anyway, another sort of little face in there. So these two, Soulless is, he's like a father solar force, the masculine solar force that just radiates out there, just like this Knight of Wands. Don't be afraid to shine your light. Maybe that's the thing here. Don't be afraid to be really creative and fly your own flag. Don't be afraid. Not that the Hangman is really afraid, but you know what I mean. Shine it out there. It's just amazing. And with the Ra card, now this is a ball of, it's just like kinetic energy. That's what it is. It has no other purpose apart from propelling itself around as a ball of energy, like an atom vibrating itself. I see it in similar terms as with the tower here. It's natural. And it's just vibrating itself a whole new beginning. What do you think? Anyway, look, I hope this found you in good spirits, this reading, if you've tuned in. And I will thank you very much for tuning in. I really felt this reading feels sort of quite airy and kind of all over the place, but I hope you've got something out of it. I'm coming back next week with some, I thought I'd do some more what I call water well readings, but they are literally sort of what's happening in your heart center at the moment, because it's so important for all of us, individually and collectively. So I'll be back next week, I think probably around Monday, with that. So have a wonderful, fabulous full moon in Leo and a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for bearing with me. Cheerio now. Bye.